I would like to dedicate my words to the Holocaust researcher and founder of the Students' Journeys to Poland, Alex Danzig. 76 years old Alex from kibbutz Nir Oz was abducted from his home more than 100 days ago by a gang of murderers, looters, rapists who invaded our land armed with rifles, knives, axes, and some with walking sticks, the successors of the Nazi Mufti al-Husseini. I'm sure you all join me in praying for Alex Danzig good health and safe return home, along with our other 135 hostages. The late Jewish philosopher Professor Shalom Rosenberg said, "Absolute goodness has never appeared on the face of earth. Absolute evil has, not far away from here, in Auschwitz, Majdanek and Treblinka. Absolute evil singled out the Jewish people as its ultimate enemy. While the Holocaust has had universal consequences, it was not a universal event. The charts presented at the Wannsee Conference on January 20, 1942, detailing the numbers in each European country, were focused on Jews and Jews alone. 48,000 in Bulgaria, 1,300 in Norway, 200 in Albania, and so on. At the conclusion of the conference, it was decided to implement the final solution. There was not even a single recorded objection, not even one. For the first time in history, a government set as a primary goal to annihilate an entire people with whom it neither a territorial nor political conflict. Even 2 years later, amid the total collapse of the Eastern Front, with Soviets bearing down on the territories of the Reich and entire armies facing devastation in the Russian winter, the Germans executed a huge operation to exterminate Hungarian Jews. 430,000 were executed in 3 months only during the summer of 1944. A year later, as Soviet tanks surrounded his bunker in Berlin, Hitler published his last will and statement. Hitler mentioned neither the Soviets nor the Allies in his will. Instead, he singled out a small, unarmed nation that had already lost a third of its people. Above all, he wrote, "I charge the leader of the nation to strictly observe the laws of race and to mercilessly oppose the universal poisoners of all people, the Jews." Absolute evil singled the Jewish people as its ultimate enemy. The Holocaust did not emerge from the darkness of the Middle Ages. It was born from the beating heart of European enlightenment. It did not sprout from the fringes of society, but from its intellectual and cultural elite, from the university auditoriums and grand concert halls. Some believed that after the unimaginable horrors of the Holocaust, anti-Semitism would vanish from the world. However, as the Jewish philosopher Alan Finkielkraut described, it was merely a respite, and the respite has now ended. The memory of the Holocaust has faded, distorted, and the lessons it imparted have been forgotten. A new generation has emerged, a generation that does not know Auschwitz. A sober look at the current cultural elites and defenders of enlightenment in the West today reveals a startling picture that should derive sleep from our eyes. We all witnessed the reprehensible hearing in the US Congress of the presidents of 3 of the world's most academic institutions. None of them was able to unequivocally and unconditionally, without hesitation or questions, and regardless of context, condemn calls for the extermination of the Jewish people. We have apparently forgotten the meaning of Auschwitz and of pure human evil. This moral collapse is first and foremost the result of turning one's back on the notion of truth. The concept of truth should have been accurately familiar to the president of Harvard, an institution that has etched the word veritas on its seal. Harvard is not alone. Light and truth is the motto of Yale. In your light we see light, from the book of Psalms, is the motto of Columbia University. These were the sentiments of the visionaries who founded those illustrious academic institutions. They drew their inspiration from the Bible. In the book of Genesis, the creation of light is the primary creation, the foundation of creation. God creates light in response to the chaos that's prevailed in the pre-creative state, to address a reality devoid of meaning and logic. Judeo-Christian civilization is founded on our ability to discern between light and darkness, between good and evil, between truth and lie. Our civilization is founded on moral clarity. Throughout the last century, a war was launched against our civilization in an attempt to destroy its foundational values by two destructive forces, Nazism and communism on its various sophisticated forms. These movements share the desire to eradicate the concept of moral clarity and the idea of freedom. From their distorted perspective, the world is merely a bloody area of conflict between classes, races, and disadvantaged groups, all driven by an unrelenting pursuit of power. And here perhaps we touch on the key to the hatred of the Jewish people. Since its inception in the world, the Jewish people have represented contempt for idols, tyranny, and power. For Pharaoh and Babylon, ancient Greece and the Roman Empire, Nazi Germany and global jihad. It is a nation that embodies an unwavering belief in the human spirit created in the image of God. It is a nation with an unyielding faith in the inherent goodness of this world and the light embodied in it. It is a nation whose national anthem is not coincidentally called Hatikva, the hope. It is a nation that has faced trials and tribulations unparalleled in history of any other nation on earth. From the binding of Isaac to the crossing of the Red Sea, through thousands of years of exiles, chaos, and wars. And this nation, our nation, is currently facing a serious trial in its own land and beyond. The Jewish people have not encountered such intensity of hatred since the 1930s. Back then, it was Nazi racial theory that paved the way for the unparalleled catastrophe. Today, we are faced with an obsessive hatred towards the state of Israel that is being demonized and delegitimized. Jewish professor Paul Kessler, Hashem Yikom Damo, was cold-bloodedly murdered in the streets of Los Angeles for standing up with the Israeli flag. Jews across Europe and the United States are afraid to wear Jewish symbols or to speak Hebrew in public. Jewish institutions, from kindergartens to synagogues and community centers, require heavy security as if they were military bases. Absolute evil single out once again the Jewish people as its ultimate adversary. But I can assure you, we will never give up. Not on our past, not on our historical homeland, and not on our faith. We put our trust in our ancestors who taught us a little truth repels a lot of lies, and a little light repels a lot of darkness. Am Yisrael Chai. This is not a slogan. This is our life mission.